All right, everybody, welcome back to Matt Money. Good morning for my friends over in Europe. Good evening for my friends in the United States. We're lucky enough to have our friend Vince. Normally, we're over doing Rocket Lab Weekly over on his channel. He's kind enough to let me stream this tonight. I'm very excited to be able to talk about Rocket Lab 1 and then 2. Watch a launch, the first of the year, as you're seeing now, 4 of a kind coming up for Spire, and hopefully 1 of 5 for the first quarter. We are T minus 25 minutes. Vince, what's going on?
Yeah, exciting. I've woken up 2 times already to watch this rocket launch, and it's kind of, it's kind of annoying when you do Rocket
It shouldn't
Lab
be that
Weekly.
funny, but it is pretty funny.
I do Rocket Lab Weekly. I have to wake up at 4 a.m. on a Saturday, and last Sunday, I woke up at 5 a.m. and then I woke up completely awake, and I opened Twitter, and it's like, oh, we're standing down for today, and I'm like, I should be sleeping, and I'm like, what the F am I going to do? I can't go back to sleep. I was a zombie the whole day, so I'm very happy that we're launching.
Yeah, it'll be a good one, man. 25 minutes though. Hopefully we end up with some really good results.
Is that the recovery vessel?
Yeah,
That's awesome. This is exciting.
Yeah, that actually, believe it or not, I don't. You know about this maybe already. I'll pull up in the background. I've been looking at buying some Rocket Lab merch more so lately. And that's not it. That's not the one I want. But they have some cool shirts and stuff online, and a lot of yeah, they have cool shirts. Should sponsor me, by the way, for doing all this. Hold on, They have cool shirts. Where is it at? They have hats, stuff like that you can buy, and they have haste mission shirts, neutron mission shirts. They have patches. They have the actual missions themselves, and so I've actually been thinking because they also have. It might not be under men's. It might just be in general mission patches. Here we go. I think I want to buy a lot of these.
But is this stuff that you can iron on your clothes, or you put it on the wall, or?
That's a good question. I don't know. I'm curious.
What do they cost? $9.
Yeah,
That's nothing.
$9. So they're 110 meters by 110 millimeters. So what is that? 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters?
Yeah, that's
pretty big.
Yeah.
10 centimeters. Yeah, it's 4-inch by 4-inch. Yeah, that's bigger than I was expecting, to be honest with you. I was expecting it to be more I don't know, yay big, but I guess it's more so yeah, it'd be pretty crazy to have more than one of those on a single shirt, I guess. But anyway, we have a long time until this thing takes off. I'm curious what they're even talking about.
Let's listen.
These constellations are building the future, and North Star's making sure there is one.
Oh, Spire.
Today's payload consists of Spire's 4 Lemur satellites, which are headed to a 530-kilometer sun-synchronous orbit at a 97-degree inclination. Each of the 4 lemurs, which stands for Low Earth Multi-Use Receiver, will form part of Spire's already existing constellation of nanosatellites in Leo.
They'll be launched today from LC-1 Pad B, our second launch pad at Launch Complex 1. We've conducted most of our Electron launches from LC-1 over the years, and both pads A and B are expecting a busy year of back-to-back launches, along with missions scheduled from our Launch Complex 2 in Virginia throughout 2024.
The Electron rocket carrying today's Spire payloads is a 3-stage liquid-fueled launch vehicle designed specifically for small satellite missions needing a dedicated ride to space. Electron is made from carbon composite, a strong but lightweight structural material that gives our rocket its unique black look.
Cool.
Electron is white on the outside, though, because of the super cold LOX that runs through its propellant tanks, which causes moisture to condense as ice on the rocket. And for recovery missions like today's, particularly on Electron's first stage, the rocket actually looks silver. And that's because the first stage is covered in a silvery TPS or thermal protection system material, which helps Electron's first stage survive its return to Earth after launch.
There are 10 Rutherford engines across the rocket, 9 at the bottom of the first stage, and a 10th engine
like
with a
this.
larger
They
nozzle
haven't done
designed
this
for
before.
space on the second stage. All 10 of these Rutherfords are 3D printed and electrically powered by batteries, which makes them pretty unique as far as rocket engines go. With a 3D printed combustion chamber, injectors, pumps, and main propellant valves, Rutherford was the world's first 3D printed orbital rocket engine. Instead of being powered by traditional gas turbine pumps,
Not relativity.
a cycle of brushless DC electric motors and high-performance lithium polymer batteries to drive its propellant pumps. This cuts down on much of the complex turbo machinery typically required for gas generator cycle engines, meaning that the Rutherford is simpler to build than a traditional engine, but can still achieve 90% efficiency. They use a mix of liquid oxygen and kerosene to generate 224 kilonewtons of thrust at liftoff, while the second stage's Rutherford engine is capable of about 25.8 kilonewtons of thrust.
And that's not all. There's actually an 11th engine on Electron called the Curie engine, which sits on top of our second stage and powers the kick stage. In the simplest form, the kick stage serves as in-space propulsion to deploy the satellites attached to it to orbit. It gets the satellites precisely where they need to go, whether it's across multiple trajectory changes on a rideshare mission or to a very specific or difficult to reach point in space that can only be achieved on a dedicated ride. The brilliant thing about the kick stage's ability to relight its engine is that it can then send itself on a deorbit path once the mission's done, helping to minimize space junk in orbit.
Now, when it comes to recovery missions, there are additions to Electron that we should point out as well. Attached inside the first stage, where that red band is below the second stage, are 2 sets of parachutes to help Electron return to Earth for recovery. When the first and the second stage split apart, while the second stage continues the mission to orbit, the separated first stage makes its way back to Earth. It maintains its trajectory on an arc, keeping that red end facing upward so that the heavier end of the first stage, where the engines are, leads the way back home. Now, once Electron is back through Earth's atmosphere, the first drogue chute will be deployed from the first stage to help slow it down. Then we'll have the release of the second main parachute, also attached internally to that first stage, which really decelerates the speed of the first stage ahead of it landing softly in the ocean for collection by our recovery vessel and our ocean crew.
Pretty crazy. I just noticed while we were counting down that they bumped it up about like 7 or 8 minutes to 30 minutes. It was when we first started the stream about 25 minutes ago.
It's gonna be a long one.
It's gonna be a long one. What I did want to share, and I had seen this off and on, people posting about it, but now that we have the opportunity maybe to kill some time, is we are kind of seeing this first from Rocket Launch Live, kind of the specific kind of launches that are due. Obviously, we have the January 31st one, which we're going to be doing today, and they have the live stream on here for those that want to do it on their own. But then they also have the few noted here specifically for basically what is supposed to be launched, I guess, for the latter half. Well, you talked about this last week on Rocket Lab Weekly with respect to when specific launches were going to occur. So you have like Acadia, which is a Capella space launch. You have the JAXA commercial removal debris demonstration project. You have North Star, which I think is another satellite mission kind of similar to what we're seeing today, because it's Aspire and North Star as well. So that's kind of the remaining 4 that they have planned for upcoming. And 3 of these were actually scrubbed and probably delayed from what we were actually supposed to get in the fourth quarter, because there was always kind of this remaining fourth quarter that, if you remember, right after we had that anomaly, we were actually supposed to launch another rocket. I want to say it was like a week after that, and that got scrubbed, obviously, because they were kind of postponing.
That was the startup that even had to raise money. They were going to. They're the super unlucky who was going to fly on Virgin Orbit, and they went bankrupt, and then they went over to Rocket Lab, and then Rocket Lab had the failure, and then they needed to raise additional funds to stay in the game.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious to see what ends up happening with the remaining launches for the rest of the year. But at the moment, they kind of already they have, as you kind of alluded to, 2 in May scheduled, 2 in June, and then 3 additional kind of scheduled for kind of the Q2 time frame. 1 being a Hawkeye, 2 being a Kinesis. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it, but and then they still have the Venus mission planned for the later half of this year. I'm curious to see if that actually goes through this year, if it gets pushed out to 2025.
You know that there's an app on the phone called Next Space Flight. It was Francisco Ramirez who sent it to me, and it's somehow, as far as I understand, it's NASA affiliated, and they have in Q2 they have 8 launches listed there for Electron. It's funny that on your website there was only 6. Or
yeah. I don't know if it's related or not. This one's filtered specifically for Rocket Lab, but yeah, it kind of gets you thinking.
Yeah, because here I don't know how they do this, because they even have Chinese missions. Like, it looks like any space mission on the planet, like they have here, and they have. I can double check as well. I can't.
What's the app called again? Sorry.
It's called Next Space Flight.
Next Space Flight.
And it looks like this purple rocket app.
There we go. Let me share this bad boy.
You're able to share your phone?
No, I guess I have a web one as well.
Yeah, I tried it yesterday. I wanted, like, I was making a video about this yesterday, and their web one was only
Not
going for me 1 month.
Oh, okay.
But maybe it's different, because it was a bit different setup. So maybe.
Looks like February, March.
Yeah, you have a next. I didn't have a next button.
Okay.
You have there. Yeah, good. Then it's the same.
Okay, cool. All right, we are T-minus 25 minutes, back to where we started at the beginning of the stream. So, yeah, let me see. Can you filter specifically? Anticipate you can. By what rocket? Oh, this is kind of cool. Gives all the criteria,
Yeah.
all the different. Cool, because I haven't really seen much of the other, like, Chinese and Indian companies
Yep.
there as well. It's really cool. Cool. All right, well, let me kick over to what's going on the stream, because they're talking more and more about Electron.
Recovery attempt will, of course, determine our next steps towards the ultimate goal, which is to refurbish and refly an entire Electron first stage on a future flight.
Now, while the videos didn't mention it, we have reflown some pretty significant hardware on our most recent recovery missions, including a Stage 1 Rutherford engine. The engine first launched on our 26th Electron mission called There and Back Again in May of 2022. After it was brought back from the ocean to our factory, the engine went through testing and qualification hot fires to make sure that it was ready to launch again. We then added it to the power pack of our 40th mission called We Love the Nightlife, where it performed as well as any newly built Rutherford engine that we've launched before. Its performance for that mission was validation that some of our most crucial hardware can be launched again and again, and so we can't wait to see how the team builds on today's recovery mission to get us closer to relaunching an Electron first stage in its entirety.
So that piece is pretty cool, because when Spice was talking at the end of the quarterly earnings last time, he was basically talking about how eventually they want to get gross margins for the rocket launch piece up to 50%. And obviously that's going to need assistance from reusability, and eventually Neutron will have that piece where you can land the rocket itself. But the Electron, I think that's why they've kind of ditched the helicopter attempts to capture it mid-sky. I think part of that's safety, right? But I think secondly, I think it's much easier to probably refurbish. And if you capture the first stages very quickly. I think that there won't be much like corrosion or anything like that. You can probably take it back to the facility, rinse it down, and kind of pressurize everything and get everything cleaned out pretty quickly, and refurbish it rather than trying to capture it with a helicopter, which is kind of dangerous if you think about it. So I think overall this is a good step in the right direction to be able to continue to increase margins over time. And I'm very curious to see as we come up, I guess, not too far from now, within the next couple weeks, where Rocket Lab shows up as for gross margins, knowing it'll probably hit a little bit by, as they kind of alluded to after the anomaly piece, they guided down a little bit for the fourth quarter, but I still think that overall the fourth quarter will see pretty good gross margins overall, and hopefully a good forecast for fiscal year 2024. That's what I'm most excited about, because they gave guidance about 1Q. They didn't give guidance about the whole 2024, which I'm most excited about.
Yeah, Dave said that normally they only give guidance for the next quarter, and it was already unusual that they gave guidance for like Q4 and Q1. So let's see how they do. I would also really like to see a guidance, but it might be that they will do like an Elon and Tesla and just no guidance.
Yeah, everyone wants to know what time is it for you over there, boss man?
For me, it's 7:15. It's not so bad.
Okay, yeah,
7:15 in the morning.
It's a little early for me, especially if I had to go into the office. That's a little bit too early for Matty Moolah. I used to be able to get up and like get into the office by 7. Now I'm just a sleepy baby. I think it's probably because I'm up a lot earlier.
If you're just tuning into the live stream now, I just want to share a quick update that we've had a bit of a push to the right with the launch target time for today's mission. We're now targeting 1934 New Zealand local time, or 0634 UTC.
Okay. So that we already counted for that when we first started streaming. That was that bump that we saw.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still on target for 20 minutes from now, it seems like. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, like I think it's now I just stay up way later than I probably should. I used to go to bed probably by like 11 o'clock, and now I'm up on my phone doing stupid shit until 1 or 2 a.m. So I need to cut that out. Get back on a better sleep schedule.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's also for me, but my schedule lately has been messed up because, like, I try to always go to bed at midnight and try to, like sleep until 7 and then take care of the kids, and then for Palantir Weekly, I need to wake up like 5 o'clock in the morning. And since I started doing that, like the weekends are quite messed up, because it like breaks your sleep schedule on Saturday, and then I don't know, but you gotta love stocks and talk about stocks, and it's like, when I start talking about stocks, my wife just goes like, oh, come again,
Yeah.
Watching a rocket launch is a
man.
spectacular experience no matter what, but it's particularly special if you had a hand in building and launching it yourself. And as luck would have it, you might have an opportunity to do just that. We're hiring across our Electron team right now, and
yeah, they're doing a lot of hiring at Rocket Lab. If you guys are interested, be sure to go. It's actually pretty cool. I was on their Twitter page, and they basically were shouting out a lot of like what the Electron team is doing and how they're hiring for roles everywhere and everything like that. And it was actually really inspiring to see younger kids that probably shouldn't be on Twitter yet, but basically shouting out to Rocket Lab, being like, I can't wait to work for you when I'm older, and all that. And I was just like, man, that's pretty cool, because I remember being that young and having aspirations to do stuff like whether it was engineering or work for a car company or something like that, to be able to build stuff, right? And so having that ambition and just kind of being in their shoes, looking at having even the opportunity to look at something like a Rocket Lab or look at something like a NASA or a SpaceX and have that opportunity to actually look forward to something like that. Because just like 10 years ago, it was probably unfathomable to be thinking about this. Like Obama had just shut down the space shuttle program, and you had all these kind of like pauses for specifically U.S. kind of space flight. Yes, there was kind of the privatized missions, but pretty much like you had to book a ride with Russia or somebody else to really get you a pretty consistent launch to the International Space Station. So pretty cool that now it's in reach again for those that are looking to get involved in the space industry.
Yeah, it's all thanks to Daddy Elon.
Daddy Elon, man.
Been here 6.5 years now. It's been.
But you think about it, I mean, even still, like Rocket Lab started up 2006, like 3 years after SpaceX, which is pretty crazy. I don't know when Daddy Bezos
he started before SpaceX.
Did he really?
Yeah, it's I mean, not by a lot, but it's crazy the difference between like where the two companies have gone.
For example, and a lot of people need
And the more you know.
The advice I give to someone who wants to work at Rocket Lab would probably just be apply yesterday.
You know, it's crazy if you read.
Look at that neutron tank right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
No, so if you read this when the heavens went on sale, you know, and there it basically said that all this new space industry is thanks to the successful launch of the fourth Falcon 1 rocket, and you know they only had money for 3, and Elon basically like gambled and took loans and everything to make the fourth launch possible. And then it's so crazy to think like if that launch didn't go as they planned, because that's like, yes, you're right, Rocket Lab started before, but they wouldn't have been able to get any financing if you know there isn't an example of an earlier successful space company. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty wild how you think about how American ingenuity, or just ingenuity for the world in general, just has to be there for things to continue, and how things can be put on pause for so much time if things don't match up or go as planned, right? Because who knows, like who would have been the next person to truly try to put forth something like that, right? I mean, it's been forever. So my new investment doesn't replace Rocket Lab by any means. T-minus 15 minutes almost, guys. So I'm very excited. I don't know. You caught the tail end of Cashflow Chronicles. You probably heard us talking about Celsius.
Yeah.
And they don't have it for sale over there, right? And I guess you haven't. Have you?
No, they have it. They have it actually. They have it. But
do they really?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. But I see this Noco or Nocho, or I don't know. Do you guys have that in? Because we have Red Bull, and then this Noco or Nocho, or I don't know what that is very like it's advertised as the gym drink, and I see that one is very prevalent right now here. But I have seen Celsius also.
We're at T-minus 14 minutes, 25 seconds and counting.
Yeah, I'm curious because
for our 43rd
there's a lot of flavors that I haven't had, and it seems like
now the weather hasn't exactly played ball with us this week, but we are happy to report conditions are much better
I'm about to order
and the weather team has given us the green light for LC1 and out at the recovery zone.
Nice.
And I'm kind of curious what other flavors they kind of have in there. Oh wow, they have a lot: green tea, peach, mango, cola. Oh, I don't know if I'd like. They got like 20 flavors in here. Holy crap!
You're looking at Celsius or this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is Noco good? Have you tried that?
I'm not so into energy drinks.
Oh, okay.
You know, I had to 100% quit caffeine because I had like a few years ago, I had a super big trouble to sleep. Like I would not be able to sleep and wake up, and I was like I was so unslept that, you know, like I was like, I mean, it affects your sanity, you know, because you're constantly tired. And and then I started watching YouTube videos, and you know, Dr. Berg, I don't know if you know him. And in one of the YouTube videos, he was like, yeah, there is these idiots who drink like 5-6 coffees a day, and then they wonder why they don't sleep at night. And I was like, yeah,
The range is
Something,
clear and
man.
ready to
Yeah.
support. Electron and its payload are both
I get.
healthy,
I
and the
get.
weather is behaving nicely so far. Now, coming up very soon will be the go no go
Oh, they're
poll
gonna do the
run
go,
by
no-go.
our launch director Joseph.
Yeah, I
Carpenter.
remember I used to give my dad crap. I'm like, I don't understand it. Like, how do you like he would fall asleep when he got home from work at like 4:35, and then he would always like complain that if he gets woken up at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m., how he can never go back to sleep. And now I kind of get it. Like for me, like my sleep schedule is a little bit more finicky. So I get it. Like if I take a nap accidentally downstairs after like dinner or something and I fall asleep on the couch, then it means I have to go to sleep another hour or two later. Like I can't just continue right back to sleep. I'm an old ass man now.
And imagine it's only getting worse.
It's only going to get worse. Well, actually, funny story. This might be too much.
On mission, proceeding with the go no go
Let's
sequence.
listen to go no go.
Stage.
Stages go.
Avionics.
Avionics is go.
GNC.
GNC is go.
Beacon.
Beacon is go.
T1.
T1 is go.
GC.
GC is go.
PLS.
PLS is go.
RSO.
RSO is go.
MET.
MET is go.
RF.
Matt,
RF
your
is
go.
MM.
MM is go.
Recovery.
Recovery is go.
LD sub.
LD sub is go.
That concludes the go no go sequence. We are T minus 11 minutes 20 seconds and counting. We are go for terminal count at T minus 10 minutes. From this time, the 3-word hold procedure is in effect.
That's their safe word.
Yeah, safe word. Well, I'll tell you, man. You talking to you is easy. You make the time fly by because that past
was
20
launch
minutes
director Joseph Carpico at the end of
went
that
by
poll,
way
confirming that
faster
the
than I
team is happy
expected.
to move forward to liftoff.
Yeah, I was talking to my buddy.
Give a
Speaking of being
special shout out
old, and
to
this might be
Mr. Carpenter
TMI. We might
today
lose
as
some
well,
people
because
talking about this one,
mission
but
will be
my buddy and I were
his
just chit chatting
100th
earlier on
launch, just an
Discord. We
incredible
played a few video
milestone.
games, some Rocket
He joined
League or
Rocket Lab with
whatever, and
over 50
he's like,
wins
dude,
under
he's
his
like,
belt
I got
in
something really
design
bad to tell
US
you
Air Force,
about how bad and
then
old we're
human
getting. I was like,
space
what,
and
man?
communications
So I had to wake up
engineering,
3 times
as well as
last night to
launches
go
with
to
the
pee, and I was
Sea
like,
Launch program
I don't
and
have that problem, so like it's like surprising that
his
somebody would have to
contribution
wake up,
Electron
3
launches
times to go
since
pee. But
2019 is his
I'm
launch
like,
pad
dude, like we're
to
30 years
Rocket
old.
today,
Like
and we couldn't be
we're
prouder
not
of
that
him.
old. Like what do you mean 3
For his
times? Like how
dedication
much
to
water are
his
you
service
drinking?
to the space industry.
Um,
So it's only
but yeah,
right
it's
that he is today's launch director and
exciting
Yeah.
to be here for a Rocket Lab launch. That's what I can say, other
Set to
than
be a busy
talking
year
about
of
people
Electron
peeing in the
launches with
middle
a
of the night.
sold-out 2024 launch forecast.
By the way,
But
are you
it is also
mentally
exciting
ready
joining our
for the
space
drop in the
systems
stock
business
price?
unit, where
Because
we build
lately
Yeah, I'm
it's
ready.
been
components
lately
Cool.
it's been
take
like
drugs
good
in
news
space
and then
conduct
drop.
science experiments on Mars.
It makes me think
More
maybe I
Rocket
can
Lab
roll.
spacecraft in build and backlog than ever before.
Have
This
you
year
been
is
put
also
on your
set to
option
be a
or
mammoth year
or no?
for our
Or
space systems
Because
teams across the
mine,
world.
that's a good point.
Let's take a look
Let
at
me
what
just
they're
make sure I'm
getting
not
up
going
to
to share
across our facilities.
on my top secret. You'll tell me if
We're
I'm sharing
building
my
satellites at
accounts,
scale.
right?
yeah,
Okay, very good.
if I need to tell you, it's
We
too
might
late.
have started with rockets.
You're like, hold on, let me
Rocket
write
Lab
these
is a
account
major
numbers
space
down real quick. All right, yeah, you're shared. You should probably
manufacturing and
not share
operating
anymore.
satellites to government and
So
commercial
let me see. Oh,
customers.
that's the wrong account.
It
So
all starts with mission design.
I have
Partner with
I have
our
a
customers
very
to
small
develop
one. That
tailored
one I was just like
spacecraft
kind of using to
solutions,
keep track of
starting
the
with
strike.
reliable, flight-proven
Um,
spacecraft platforms
where I was
that will tailor
selling
each spacecraft to each
$5
individual mission's
puts
requirements.
for February
Whether it's a
16th.
science
This one's
mission
just
to
been kind of
study
like a
our solar
constant
system's planets,
one.
a technology demonstration
So those
in
I've
the
just
lower
been kind of
orbit, or
keeping.
a
That's just
constellation
against the
enabling
portfolio. So like
communications
something
or
really
national
small, right? So I was
security.
like, it's $1,000
We are
bucks.
building
Worst case, but it lets me keep track of the price.
They're
And
manufactured at
my
Not
thought
that
process is,
production
what's that?
facilities,
My
home to a
interactive
12,000
brokers is
square
saying that
foot
Rocket Lab is up
state-of-the-art
17
clean room
cents
and
in
more
the
than
after
4,000
trading.
After
Like the
hours?
price
of
is,
streamlined
yeah, like it's
production and teaching
$5.15.
facilities
Can that be
designed
correct?
to support
Let me
constellation
see.
class
Let's see what
manufacturing and satellite
Robin
assembly,
Hood's talking about.
integration, and test. We've been intentional in
Bitcoin's up.
developing
That's all I
a
know.
vertically integrated supply chain for
I'm
our
not seeing that. I'm
satellites,
seeing $4.95.
manufacturing components, subsystems,
Yeah,
and
on
software
Yahoo
and
Finance, it's
drive
502.
efficiency, accelerate production
Yeah,
timelines,
I guess it all
and
just
deliver
depends.
cost
But
savings.
so
Yeah.
my
Plus,
$5
these Rocket
puts
Lab
are
spacecraft
also
incorporate
for
flight-proven
February
smart trackers,
16th
propulsion,
I'm
reaction
down
wheels,
18%
solar
on
cells,
those.
panels,
So
and arrays, flight and
I
ground
sold them for
software,
633,
radios,
25
avionics,
contracts for
composite
about
structures
25
and
cents a
tanks, and
piece.
separation systems. And our
So I
customers
walked away
know
with
they
about
can rely on these,
633 bucks
since
on
Rocket
that.
Lab components and
And
subsystems have flown successfully
I don't know how that
on
math works out.
1,700 missions globally.
How do I sell it for 25
Following
cents?
final
But you know, on
assembly,
the options,
integration,
it's
and
so
test,
weird that
we ship the
like
completed
sometimes
satellites to the
like
launch site for
like I
integration
sold
to
out
launch
of the money,
people,
right? And then the
whether
stock
that's
was
Electron,
like going
Neutron,
down,
or an
but
entirely
and it
different
was like
rocket.
1 week to
Once launched, we have
expiration,
global ground
and then
station
the
coverage,
broker account
enabling
was
our
saying that
customers to
like there was no
communicate
trading on the
not
option,
only
and it was
across
showing that I
our
lost
data,
money on the
but their
option, and I'm
satellites,
like,
thanks to our
how? There
satellite
was no
operations
trading,
centers in
and
Long Beach,
I mean, okay,
California,
technically I
Oakland,
understand
New
how,
Zealand,
but
and Littleton,
it's
Colorado.
just you just wait for it to expire, right? Like this theta decay is your friend.
It's all about, especially like really illiquid options. So it's part of the problem with Rocket Lab is like you might have to sometimes, if you want a really good price and you know that it's a good price, you might have to wait a couple days. Like if you honestly are sitting there, because like if you're just sitting there like trying to get it executed that second, something very illiquid like a Rocket Lab, like let's take for example, let's stop sharing this for a second and let me close this out. All on purposes, I'm down 18% of my current puts, which I need to which I'll probably continue to roll for the time being. But let's just take for example like these March 15th puts, right? For Rocket Lab. It's like selling at the $5 strike. It's like you already have a 10-cent swing here. Like you could so the people that are trying to buy it are trying to buy it for 40 cents. The people that are trying to sell for 50 cents. So you have like a meet in the middle part. And so sometimes
isn't that like a market maker that has yeah.
I mean, part of it's the market maker trying to make money, but then part of it also is like people trying to catch people sleeping, because what you might see, and this might actually be like a prime example, is like people might have like just an open contract for 75 cents on a $2 put to buy it, and it doesn't make any sense, right? Like who would have that? So what they're hoping to do is that somebody's dumb enough to buy it for 75 cents and kind of meet them in the middle and collect $30, right? Like right off the bat. So that's part of the problem with liquidity, and that makes you have to think about maybe for some other people like the volume and also like how much open interest there is. And to prime example of this, and I know it's very exaggerated, but it's reason why I trade SPY and buy SPY for my S&P rather than VOO, and then we'll get back to the Rocket Lab launch, is because let's just say you're at the 450, which is at the money. I'm still sharing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're at the 450, which is basically at the money for VOO, the S&P 500. You have an open interest of 571 contracts, but then immediately you go to 455. So there's a $5 difference between these contracts, right? And not only that, but you can only sell monthly, right? So you have February, March, April, versus if you go to SPY, it's so much more liquid. Not only that, but you could literally sell every day. February 1st, 2nd. This is the weekend, so you can't sell on the weekend, but the 5th, 6th, etc. Not only that, but instead of having the $5 split between each individual strike, you literally have every single dollar. So it's like, and then also the open interest is 20,000 versus 500, right, at the money.
Wow.
So it's like, and not only that, but you have individual dollar increments that have open interest of 7,000 as well. So when you think about liquidity, the difference between this price is 2 cents, right? And you can meet in the middle versus what we were looking at with Rocket Lab. It was 20 cents between the two, right? So very large difference. And that's just part of the things you have to consider if you get into options trading, is like sometimes you might be sitting there for some time to really get the options contract that you want
into the mission. Splashdown will then occur at about 10 minutes
at the price
after
that you want.
main
I mean.
chute deploys.
Yeah.
Confirmed, our recovery team will move in and get to work to bring Electron up onto the deck of their recovery ship, do their initial assessments,
I'll
and
tell
then
my
strap
buddy.
it in for a secure ride back home to land.
And again, while all of that is happening, our primary mission will continue. It takes about 40 minutes or so after the kick stage has separated for it to complete an elliptical orbit of Earth.
Rocket
We
Lab
want to deploy
Mafia.
the satellites in a circular
I
orbit.
prefer
So,
enthusiasts,
once this
but
elliptical trip
I
is
have
complete,
been
the
known
kick
to
stage
want
is
to
ended
call
or
myself a
circularize our orbit.
waste
It
management
takes
consultant
only a
at
couple of
times.
minutes before the trajectory is set and the satellites are ready for departure. And then it's about
You
90
get that
seconds or
joke,
so
then
to deploy
we're in
all
good
4
company.
Lima payloads because they'll leave their deployers 2 at a time. We'll have an animation of that payload deployment process to talk you through when it happens. So make sure to stick around or join us again after liftoff for those final moments of the mission.
We are now just 2.5 minutes away from liftoff of Electron. We're going to hand it over now to Mission Control to take us through the rest of the countdown, and then Muriel and I will be back with you after liftoff as the mission makes its way through those milestones. Go for of a kind, go Electron, and go Spire and North Star.
So Vince, I wanted to ask you, what's the temperature over there right now? Because you're in Northern Europe.
Yeah, it's not so bad now. It's plus 3 degrees Celsius. I don't know in Fahrenheit.
Yeah. It's like 40 degrees ish. Yeah.
But a
Pretty
few
warm.
weeks ago, it was like minus 10 here in South Sweden. And where I go skiing, it was like minus 22, 25. That's like crazy cold.
Yeah, it's cold. That's too cold.
Yeah.
Because once you get to 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it's 0. So that's the point of freezing. It's about 1.9 Celsius, so about 2 degrees after that. So at that point, being down 20 Celsius, that's like
system is in recirculation.
It's very cold.
Yeah, it's cold. It's like 10 degrees, less than 10 degrees.
Why do you guys use Fahrenheit? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's funny.
Trust me, man. I don't know.
Because Celsius is so simple. It's like water freezes at 0, boils at 100, and then and then Fahrenheit, it's like freezes at 32. And what's the boiling point? Like
212.
212.
Yeah.
And what is 0 on Fahrenheit? Like
nothing.
It's just nothing. Okay, it's just So the inventor of Fahrenheit was like
stage 1 and stage
2.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Hypo engine purge is enabled.
I work in oil field units too, which is like a combination of both.
Jesus Christ.
What's going on, my guy? Yeah, I do need to reach out to you. Hang out. We'll get lunch. I'm thinking anywhere we can get French fries and honey mustard. That's all that matters to me.
T-minus 20 seconds and counting.
God, I get so fired up for these launches, man. Sorry, what were you saying?
Did you see this comment from Brad? The last one? It's pretty amazing.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have liftoff.
Let's go.
Fuck, it's so beautiful here.
I always love how like you see the ice shards like flying off. It gets me so pumped up.
Electron has successfully lifted off from Rocket Lab Launch Complex 1 with its Spire and North Star payload. The rocket is on its way to low Earth orbit with those 4 satellites on board, now T plus 40 seconds into flight. Electron has begun its pitch over, moving up and on an angle to head away from the launch pad and out over the ocean. Now, all is looking nominal so far as the rocket approaches max Q, the moment in ascent when Electron experiences the maximum amount of aerodynamic pressure.
I will say, Vince, it'll be funny when we say that we used to try to stream each one of these, because in like, I want to say 5 years, it's going to be like happening so many times per week. Max Q.
Yeah, I know. You know, I used to watch all the SpaceX launches up until they started landing, and then after a while, it was like, there's no point. It's like too often.
Telemetry dials at the top right-hand corner of your screen.
I think they said
Next
something
up
like they
for Electron
launched.
is MECO, or main engine cutoff, quickly followed by stage separation and the startup of the Rutherford engine on that second stage to continue the mission to orbit. The 9 engines of the first stage will throttle down and then shut off just before the first and second stages separate from each other.
I think they
When
said
that
something
happens,
like they
the
launched
second stage, the Spire
150
satellites,
times
will
or something
maintain its
last year.
orbital trajectory
Something
and
No,
absurd.
continue on with the mission, while the first stage of Electron will
97,
begin
I
its
think. Almost reached
reorientation
100.
Was it
maneuver to
90s?
position itself for
Oh,
the return
shit.
journey to Earth. Now, these 4 events happen in quick succession and are coming up shortly.
I don't know why I thought it was. Maybe that's what they were forecasting for this
15
year.
seconds to staging.
Yeah, I think so.
SpaceX launches 2023. 96. You're right. Falcon. 96 with Falcon. 61 in 2022. So that's a launch like every 4 days. That's absurd.
Whew, my heart stopped there.
It always freaks me out, man, because you take a while for the heat shield to like warm up to red, and you always see like it flash, but
to show the speed and
then it
altitude
takes a
of the
second.
second stage for the primary mission, with the stage 2 nozzle glowing bright above the stunning Earth.
Yeah, it always freaks me out a little bit.
Stage 2 propulsion nominal. Fairing jettison succeeded.
That was the call for fairing jettison on the second stage, which you saw there for yourself. That means Electron's nose cone has successfully split apart and fallen away. And we
Flat
do this
Earth
in
confirmed.
preparation for deploying the kick stage with its satellites and to get rid of the dead weight of the fairing now that we are through Earth's atmosphere. We have got the trajectory graph showing on your left-hand side and on the right-hand side, which track the stage's current altitude, matching the nominal altitude that we need to reach orbit. On the left-hand side, Electron's stage 1 trajectory is on its way to the highest point of its momentum arc. And once it reaches this apogee, the stage's trajectory line should start to come down as its altitude begins to drop too. You are seeing, though, on your screen that movement of the
crazy.
booster as it redirects to come back to Earth bottom heavy. That way, the engines bear
All
the
those
brunt of the
clouds.
re-entry forces rather than shredding the carbon composite at the top of the stage. The stage will move quickly as it is pulled back to Earth by gravity, and at its peak, the first stage will reach around 8 times the speed of sound and generate so much friction that we could see a red-orange glow from the heat as it descends.
Because it's what, 160? Yeah, 160 some kilometers. That's wild.
It is T plus 4 minutes and 33 seconds into the mission, and Electron's second stage carrying today's payloads remains on course for payload deployment within the hour. Now, that second stage is clocking speeds at more than 10,000 kilometers an hour, having now passed 174 kilometers in altitude. For Electron's first stage on its return journey back to Earth, we have had the stage reach its apogee, flip into its
Someone thought I was
atmosphere
strongman.
position, and begin dropping in
guess.
altitude as it speeds up on its homeward bound trajectory. It will travel this way for a few minutes before its drones
No, that's Hot
and
Vince,
main
my
parachutes
guys.
are deployed to help slow it down.
I don't like strongman. He's not a positive guy. I don't feel uplifted after his videos.
I get where he comes from. You know, he's attacked me quite a bit, but yeah, I think he has good intent, and him and I actually share a pretty similar message with respect to his delivery. I think is what upsets people, but I think he actually
The
does
end of
hit
stage 2 may
something.
look a little different than what you're used to from our previous launches, but this is due to the implementation of Beast, or our electrical
it's
arc
actually
suppression
fall
system, which
faster than I
ensures
thought.
all electronics on board can
On the
function
left.
nominally. In particular, you might notice the
But I think his
adjustment of
delivery is
controls
probably
and
what
maintains
makes it
pressure
most
within the
harsh. I think
stage.
I agree with a
We're
lot
now
of what he
listening to
says.
hear the
Most
call from
people
Mission Control for
should just
battery
invest in the
hot swap.
SP500
This
or
hot swap
equivalent.
maneuver will
He's a
allow the
VT guy,
continuous
right?
energy
But
supply to the Rutherford
um,
engine's electric pumps, which deliver fuel to the engine's combustion chamber at extremely high pressure.
yeah, I just most people don't put enough due diligence into the stocks that they buy. They'll buy like the weirdest things that for some reason they're just gamble. Like you could literally try to help people as much as possible. And
I mean, look, it's just the only thing I disagree with is
Control Electron's second stage has completed the battery hot swap. The second stage is maintaining its momentum at more than 15,000 kilometers an hour, now past 200 kilometers in altitude.
And we are currently at T plus 6 minutes, 39 seconds into the mission. And the next critical milestone we are tracking is the deployment of the drogue chute on Electron's first stage. Watch that left-hand side of your screen.
It's so crazy that on the launch, like, you know, now as a shareholder, like it's not done until the last thing is deployed, you know? And when I used to, before I was a shareholder, you know, like I would watch SpaceX and it's like, okay, they flew, landed, okay, turn off the stream. It was a good launch, you know? And no, it's like it can fail at the last fucking second.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened with crap. Who was it recently?
The Vulcan, no?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
I mean, the Vulcan, like there, the launch was perfect, but it was the payload that was. But
100%.
No, relativity. Well, no.
No, I think you're right. It was.
No.
You can see on your screen there a fantastic.
I think it was the
view that we
debut of
have
the Vulcan.
drogue parachute. It has been deployed from that first stage of Electron. We
No,
heard
it
that
was
call from Mission
Firefly.
Control as well. So that seems like a
Was it
nominal
Firefly?
drogue chute deploy since
No,
we
because
haven't heard
the
anything
Vulcan,
different
like there,
from our operators.
the
That means
rocket
we'll move
was
next to the main
nominal,
parachute
and then
deploy,
there was
coming
something
up in
wrong with the
around 30
payload.
seconds, which we should also hopefully
And-
see happen from that live camera feed on
And I
stage
think it
one.
was Firefly. They had a payload, and then they went, and then basically the second stage reignition didn't work. And then the
battery discharge holding nominal.
yeah, they are also saying
Another
in the
great
comments.
call out for mission control. The main parachute on Electron's first
Was it
stage
Firefly?
was successfully
Yeah,
deployed.
upper stage
This
malfunction.
means the
Okay.
booster's pace will
They
have
happened
slowed
within
down
2 weeks of each other,
significantly and
so
should now be drifting
Yeah.
gently towards the ocean. It's expected to take
Thanks
around
for
10 minutes
correcting
for the
us,
booster
guys.
to reach the water surface, but we'll keep the comms channels up for mission control to share updates as they come through.
Big Dick Francisco, man.
He's awesome. He sends me so much stuff. It's so funny because I mean, both you and me, like we have full-time jobs, and you know, like I don't get to do as much research as I want to, you know. And then Francisco like always sends me stuff, and like most of the time it's super valuable. And then it's like, great, I don't have to go and research this. Like he just sends the. It's really, really good.
Yeah, sometimes it definitely makes things a little easier when people kind of tag you and stuff. You know, you would have found it maybe a couple hours later, but
yeah,
they tag you early and.
Stage 3
5 kilometers to touchdown on the first stage.
Great news from Mission Control with that second stage engine cold and the kick stage separated. We are now in the final stages of this 4-of-a-kind mission. The kick stage and Spire and North Star satellites are now in a coast phase around Earth. After that elliptical orbit of Earth is complete, then the kick stage's engine will light up to set the stage and the satellites on a circular orbit before payload deployment. The stage's coast phase will last about 40 minutes or so, and then there is payload deployment before we can call mission success for Electron's 43rd launch.
It just gets you so like wild how it's like you have to get.
As planned.
Yeah, if we can get Francisco
and its slow descent to the ocean.
On, I would love to have
crew
him.
are on standby in the recovery zone, waiting for that
I'm
before
always just kind of curious how. Like all these trajectories and everything are kind of figured out.
A few minutes with confirmation of that booster splashdown when we
to get these things into orbit. Like it still kind
so
of boggles me, right? Because you anticipate that it's shooting straight up, but it's never shooting straight up. It's actually at a tilt, right? So,
yeah, and what's his name? Everyday Astronaut. He has amazing videos on explaining this stuff. They're just very, very long. But did you know that to like increase your orbit, it's like when you fire the engine, it's like your orbit will be like an egg shape, and then it's the other side of the orbit that will be bigger. So it's like if you fire like here's Earth, and then if you fire the engine here, then you will get like on the other end, you will get like an elliptical something. So if you want to have like a circular orbit, you have to like fire the engine and then go halfway across and then fire again at the same time, and that's when you will. And I'm like, how do they come up with this stuff and the precision, you know, and timing, and I mean, it's rocket science, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, that they kind of just alluded to it, right? Where you're probably a couple thousand miles now away from, maybe not a couple thousand, but at least from an orbit perspective, you're 200 kilometers or plus above the Earth's surface at this point, and it's like, from a distance away from New Zealand perspective, you're probably getting to that place where you need to have that next engine. So they just like stated, right, how within 40 minutes or so they're going to actually be when they actually kick out those satellites, right? So you have to kind of establish themselves for quite some time before they actually kick it out into orbit. And I'm like you, like when I initially started watching these things like 5-6 years ago, I didn't really even think about the secondary piece or the payload piece. I was always like, oh, they just need to land the rockets and we're good.
Yeah.
It's like, no, but they're actually putting things into space, right? Like, and it makes you think and like scratch your head, because you see how many things of 600 some pounds that we put into space with all these Electron launches, because there's now 43 of them, right? And if you think about it, it's like, how much effort was it to put all that stuff into space for the ISS, the International Space Station? And not only that, but there was a Russian space station before that, and then there was a Chinese space station before that. So it's like, or maybe it was a Chinese space station after that. But regardless, it's like you have multiple space stations up there, maybe some of which have been retired now. But I know the Chinese one, I think, is still in orbit, or at least they have one that's going to be up in orbit. But I know the International Space Station is going to be retired here soon and is in orbit still. So like, think about how many launches it took to get all that stuff up there. It's pretty incredible, the amount of capital. And
yeah, I think the ISS is the world's most expensive building by far.
yeah.
And it
What
will
was it? It
probably...
was like 100 billion or something like that. Hold on. Let me see.
Yeah, we have to Google.
Sorry, I'm making you station costs. It costs $3 billion a year to operate. How much does it cost to get? 150 billion. So Skylab was the Russian, I think.
What did you say?
2.2 billion.
150 billion?
Yeah, 150 billion. And then Mir,
Holy
MAR, or maybe Mir was near the...
It's so interesting, that they're switching to this to private space. And I was actually watching a YouTube video about this the other night, and I think it's Axiom Space that has this inflatable one, and I don't know how far along they are in testing it, but it's like theoretically it would be possible to like take to have one Falcon what is it called? Starship launch, and like have the whole thing in there, and then it inflates in space, and then you just need resupply missions. And then you think about like you go from 150 billion to like, I don't know, 3 billion for like the same, like what a step change,
Yeah. No, so Skylab was the United States' first space station. It was in the 70s, and then Mir was the Soviet space station. Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, but I don't know. I don't know if I know that it hasn't necessarily been a successful launch as of yet. But I'm not 100% certain if I'm going to stay up the remaining half hour to see if this other piece actually successfully deploys or not, or if I'm going to stream or not. I'm trying to think, contemplate.
I was going to ask you how long do we go, but maybe we see the recovery or
I like that idea, because it's pretty close to recovery, and then we'll probably call it quits. I'm curious. Should be getting here pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, we only see the parachutes, so...
Right.
and the ship, unless it falls on the ship. We don't see it.
Well, talk about a perfect capture. Yeah, I think that they would like that, but I don't know if that
Is that a
that
drone
would be in
ship,
the
or
plan.
is it a drone ship, or is it a piloted, or what is it, captain?
No, I think what they do is they let it land, and then there's a little arm crane in the back, as you can probably see, right?
Yeah.
And then they pick it up like that, like a scooper.
It is ETF FaceTime home. No, ET FaceTime home. Don't make us stay up.
Yeah, I'll try my best not to. Yeah, recovery will be.
Stage 1 splashdown.
Oh, I did splash that. There we go.
Oh,
Cool. Curious how far away they are, though. They're picking it up.
yeah, because isn't it normally that when you
Hello
launch
again from
rockets,
Rocket
like
Lab
it's a
Mission
no-go
Control.
zone
As you
for
might have
boats?
just heard from Mission Control and seen on
Yeah.
your screen, Electron's first stage has just successfully splashed down in the ocean after its return journey from space. We're going to bring that up on screen very soon, if we can bring that back from the rocket. But right now, the Electron recovery team are making their way to the stage in the water. They're about 10 minutes or so out. They'll complete safety checks and an initial assessment of the stage's condition before they attempt to bring it on deck of the recovery ship.
As we get updates from the team, we'll bring them to you here live on the webcast. Until then, we'll keep an eye out on the recovery vessel and the primary mission with the animated tracking graphic that shows the position of the current payloads above us, as 4 of a kind make their way to their mark, with payload deployment starting at T plus 50 minutes. We'll see you back here then.
I will say that we could, excuse me, have any last words and close it out, but it's pretty interesting because you think about it, it's like you would anticipate that this Electron vehicle is very, very, very heavy to the point where it would sink, right? So the first stage is literally just sitting there floating in the water. And it's like, you could see the sky, right? You could see the parachute floating in the water. It's like, it's pretty crazy how light the material is that it can literally be 3D printed and float on top of the water and structure. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
insane.
so crazy that if you look at like what's the rocket weight at launch and what's the payload, it's like usually like 2-3% is the payload versus the total. So it's like almost if Earth's gravity would be a bit bigger, then you wouldn't be even able to ever make it to space, because I don't know what you would do then.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then the weight, as you said, like then this big weight must be the fuel, basically, because the rocket is carbon composite. I guess that's one of the advantages of this material, is that it's light as F, and I guess it doesn't get damaged in the sea.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I mean, I think the thing that they probably have to refurbish most is the Rutherford engine pieces. Because I anticipate that some of that has electronic components. I anticipate some of it has.
And they have eyes on the stage in the water.
All right, there, they found it. Yeah, and I think that's probably the most difficult part, is
telemetry feed from the stage as well.
avoiding any sort of corrosion on the engines and the blast shields, etc.
Yeah. By the way, so going back to this strongman, so what I don't like is that I feel that, like, yes, most people who don't do research, like, they should be investing in investment funds, but like, he makes it seem like it's completely pointless to do your due diligence and study stocks, because everybody who does it is a grifter and idiot, and and that I just disagree with. Like, I think that yes, you can, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Like, you can't not do your research and expect amazing results from picking stocks. But I believe that if you do put in the time, then you can have much better results than investing in the VT or whatever he invests in. And that's the part where I disagree with.
Yeah, I'm not a big proponent of VT anyway, because I think a lot of American stocks personally have a large international exposure component to them anyway. So I hate that kind of double dip piece, because if you think about it, you're already somewhat diversified by investing in, because Pepsi's selling stuff across the United States border, and Coca-Cola, and Procter and Gamble and Duracell and all these companies are selling things across the border. Google, Amazon, etc. etc. So when you think about it, it's like you're almost double dipping at that point. Like, oh, excuse me, I keep yawning. I apologize for everybody watching me. It's almost like not only now do you have the exposure of those companies that are international in, say, the U.S. stock market, but now you're taking away your percentage ownership in some of those companies to invest in overseas companies, which may or may not have favorable regulatory climates from a business environment perspective for your company to succeed. So, I mean, we already see the antitrust stuff that's going on in the EU with Google and many other companies, right? So it's kind of like, is Google actually an antitrust when it comes to some of these things? And I guess you could say with search and stuff that maybe yes, but it kind of gets you scratching your head with some of these things. Like, are these other countries that VT or the companies that VT is investing in, are they actually in the appropriate regulatory environments for them to succeed? So, anyway.
Yeah, and you know, I guess also what I disagree with is like how do you call it? Like I want to better my life and I have like tough goals for myself, right? And then I feel that to reach that, you kind of have to shoot for the stars, right? And then I feel that if you are an average person who wants to build wealth, then and you're saving and you're buying VT, like you're never going to achieve that goal, you know? So like what this guy is selling is like basically compromise your goals and you know, like be safe, and then you will have like an average result by the end of your life. And then I like, you know, everyone makes their own choices, but I rather come to the end of my life and not achieve something, but at least I have tried other, like, than, you know, coming to the end of the life and having regrets that I never tried, you know. But I mean, each does it as they want, you know.
Yeah, I think, you know, fortunate for me, I've been investing now for 10 years. I've had a pretty good career thus far. You know, I'm only really a third of the way through it, maybe halfway through it, I guess, depending on, you know, how much longer I work or how much they let me work in that respect. But hopefully a much longer career. But you know, I've been fortunate now to save a good chunk of change. And with that, I think now I could set aside a bunch of capital that could get me to retirement and pretty comfort. And with some of that other funds, I feel like I have the opportunity to get more risky and have that chance of changing, because if I continued down the path that I was heading down, yes, I'd be able to eventually probably get to a $5 million, $6 million net worth.
And think about it. You're special because you have a very high paying job.
Yeah.
And you don't have a family and a wife yet. So these are all things that you know worked for you, right? But if you would take like an average person on an average salary, I mean, everyone has their own journey. Like, I don't think it would have necessarily worked out the way it worked out for you.
Yeah. And I just recognize, like, you know, not to say that me investing in dividends early on in my career was a bad thing, but I just recognize it was slow. I didn't necessarily, I thought I knew more than I actually did. And I still think that there's a lot for me to learn about the stock market, etc. But this gets you to think a little bit. I think what ends up happening is you learn a little bit about the market, you realize you get punched in the mouth. Then you learn a little bit more, then you get punched in the mouth. Then you learn a little bit more, you get punched in the mouth. And by no means am I some sort of wizard, right? Like I can get things wrong.
Sorry,
like
what a funny animation. It's like Windows 98. They have like a rocket the wrong way pointing.
Yeah, that's what you said. But yeah, I mean, you know, you learn a little bit, right? And like you said, I've been fortunate now, blessed to a point where, hell, within a couple of years, I'll probably be splitting part of my time between real estate and in equities, right? And I'll be probably talking, as much as I talk about equities, I'll probably end up talking more about real estate and stuff like the like. So, yeah, it'll be nice. I mean, this house that I'm living in eventually will be a rental property. And eventually I'll probably, once rates become favorable again, I'll probably buy my closer to forever home. in a decent part of the town that I can kind of renovate up a little bit more. But for now, this is kind of like, well, I needed a place to live. I didn't want to spend money on a $700,000 house yet at the current interest rate environment. So plus I probably need a year or two to save up a little bit more before I purchase something like that. So it was kind of like, get my equity portfolio in a good spot, buy a cheaper house. I have my Airbnb thing going on in New Jersey. I'll probably buy one or two more of those in the next coming years.
Do you
if
run your
favorable.
Airbnb or do you have a management company who does it for you?
I mean, we have cleaners. We have people that we rely on, but I'm the one that answers the notes. And my buddy who I bought it with, he manages the VRBO piece, the vacation rental by owner. So we both manage the actual Airbnb piece. So if there's any problems or anything like that, we're the ones making the calls for, hot tub people to come out or the cleaners to come out. Or we had somebody for some reason looked like they took a hammer to one of the doors, and so they sent me a picture and they're like, how much is this going to cost? And I'm like, well, we have to buy a brand new door and get it painted, so it's going to cost $350. And lo and behold, it was $350. So we got it quoted by the contractor. He's like, I know the door. He's like, I got to fit it, frame it, paint it. He's like, it'll be $350. And we were like, all right. So you deal with all those little headaches. But it turned out well. It made money. If I didn't have the mortgage, we would have made a shit ton of money. But we're gaining equity in the home. I think it'll be a great price appreciation area as well. So and we get a free vacation home out of it if you think about it in that way. Like my buddy spent some time there. I'm gonna spend about a week up there in March just hanging out, and hopefully the hope is that it allows us to continue to buy vacation homes with that money. So even if we wanted to say use that as an investment property and then use some of the equity or whatever to buy a better vacation home, we would then be able to have that. But because now we have that ability to pass through that ownership in time, right? Because now you have an asset that's building and etc. It's like eventually if we wanted to move it into a bigger real estate property or a better rental property or something like that, we have a starting point now versus before we didn't have anything except kind of cash. And that's the problem is when you think about it in this respect, most real estate and most like equity funds, etc., when you think about it from a holistic standpoint, maybe not individual stocks, because individual stocks can go to zero. And I guess same with real estate as well. But if you upkeep it and you kind of take a little bit of care of it, some thought into it, it's all it is it's just keeping pace with time, right? If you think about it in that perspective. So it's like, it's part of the fact that it's deflating. It's part of the fact that the dollar that you put into it is inflating. So if you think about it, yes, in 10 years time, it went from being worth $1 to $2. But in reality, a lot of that is the fact that the value of the dollar is decreased by 50% as well. So it's like, if you think about it in that perspective, it allows you to kind of keep pace with your value and what you put into it, etc. So you can do that with kind of equities and real estate, etc. And that's kind of the thought process is like, at least I'm keeping pace with inflation. And the fact that we have it, we bought it with 15% down, 10% down, whatever we ended up putting, I forget, but allows you to kind of leverage your money too. So it's like if that house value goes up 10% in, let's just say, the next couple of years, it's like, well, we only put down 10%. So the fact that went up 10% on the value of the home in reality means we got 100% return on our money. Because when you put down 10%, you're leveraging your money 10 to 1. So, and a lot of people don't understand that per se. So it's like what a lot of people, what they think they should do, especially the real estate game. And everyone needs to make their own decisions, right? But and then I'll hand it back to you, and we can probably cut it off because I'm just going on a tangent about real estate. But the thought process that I kind of have is like, you get so much benefits associated with owning real estate. You can write off the interest. You can leverage your money, etc. So if somebody hands you $1 million, you're probably like, I'm just going to go buy $1 million home in cash. And it's like, well, probably not. Like what you should probably do is if like, let's say you don't own a home, maybe you buy your personal residence in cash, but you should probably buy 4 or 5 other properties that are worth $400,000 a piece and let them kind of cash flow for you and utilize that money, because not only that, you now have a home for free, but now you have 4 or 5 other properties that are appreciating over time, and you can refinance those as appropriate and use that cash over time to kind of help you guide through life, because you're always going to be getting, in that respect, a pretty good chunk of appreciation every year. So
you know, I'm a very big believer in this Grant Cardone, you know, like rent where you live and own what you rent.
yeah,
And it's funny because it took me like literally years to get it in my head, like to understand what he means that your own home is a very bad investment, you know. And like he has this funny way of, I don't know, like he gives a message that can like piss people off, and then you have to like think like, why is he saying it? And then sometimes it takes you like years, and then you go like, shit, I understand, you know, like when he says that average is like death, you know, and like he has this, that middle class is like, he talks really bad about middle class, you know.
yeah.
And then I didn't understand that until I got my 3 kids. And I mean, I guess it's different everywhere on the planet, but
from Rocket Lab Mission Control, a quick update for those of you still watching. You are being treated to a live view of Electron's first stage bobbing happily in the ocean as the recovery team prepares to bring it on board. We should see that on your screen shortly.
this is so interesting. This is
It is
worse
interesting.
that we stayed. So what was I rambling about? Yeah, so you know, like I got the 3 kids, and I'm like, I have a very good pay in Sweden. Like I'm like a very high income earner, like in Swedish terms, and it's so tough with the kids. And I'm like, if I'm having a hard time, like what doesn't, and I'm like, he's right. Like if you're middle class, you're in constant danger. And you know, like I think you don't have this yet because you don't, as far as I know, you don't have wife and kids.
My mom
But-
says that all the time. She's like, I'm sure you have kids somewhere. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they would be knocking on my door if I had kids.
but
She's
it's
like,
funny. So
and I'm like, she says it all the time, and I'm like, Mom, like I'm pretty sure they would know. Anyway,
yeah. But anyways, it will come for you, and then hope, like I think you will be in a like you will be ready for it, you know. But you're not average. You're very you have a very nice journey, you know.
yeah. It'll be cool. But I agree with you. I mean, it's.
So
I think about that as well. Like, even just trying to save something like $500 a paycheck or something like that. It's like costs have gone up where, you know, it makes you think twice about having the capability to even do something like that.
yeah,
Saving that much money.
And you know, and I hear so many people who's like, you need to buy your home, you need to buy your home. And I have a colleague in my company, and he's also in this, like, buy your home. And we had so many like discussions about this. And when my business was in a startup phase, like I was able to put my capital into the company, and I had to work all the time, and I was renting a house that we lived in, right?
Mhm.
And during that year, when the company was in startup mode, the heating system broke down. And I was thinking about it, like I called my landlord and I said the heating system broke down. It was a $10,000 cost to fix. I got rent deduction because there was no heat in the house, and he had to fix it. And I was like, if I would have owned this home now, like I wouldn't have been able to invest in my company because I would have needed the equity. And then this, you know, like this thing breaking down, it would like it like I don't know how I would have solved it at that
Hello
time,
again
right?
from Rocket Lab Mission
Yeah.
Control.
Uh-oh. What happened? I'll
We
refresh.
lost the rocket.
We lost it. There we go.
Hello again from Rocket Lab Mission Control.
All right.
As you can see
There
on
we
your
go.
screen, Electron has made it to space and back and is now
Is it me?
We will not. No, I don't know. I hear you. Nice.
Yeah, you're coming up perfectly fine. Huh. I think it's me.
As
Has
you
to
can
be.
see on your screen, Electron has made it to space and back and is now
Huh.
We will never know
We'll
what
never know.
happened to Electron.
But yeah,
Okay,
I think
taking
it's just
a
one of those
relaxing
things.
dip in the ocean. And from here, our recovery team will hoist.
I don't know what's going on.
It's from New Zealand. We're too far apart.
Or I need to pay my internet bill, which I thought took directly from my
taking a
Amex. But
relaxing dip in the ocean. And from here, our recovery team will hoist.
No, it's not you. Yeah, they need Starlink, exactly. Yeah, I guess we can end here and then
The stage
we
on the
follow on
launch
Twitter.
recovery vessel,
yeah,
ready for the trip back to our production
I think so.
facility
I
in
think it'll
May.
take some time for them to get everything situated and ready to pull up anyway. But it was cool kind of seeing it in the background. Overall.
So now the stock, how much is it going to be down tomorrow? You think 10%,
Ooh.
15%?
Good question.
I mean today for me, but yeah.
Good question. I guess it's technically today for me as well. I'm gonna say the whole market's gonna pull back tomorrow, so I'm gonna say it's gonna drop to 475. 5%.
475. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
5% drop from where it's at today.
Yeah.
Because of the whole market, not because of Rocket Lab, but the whole market. That's my
Yeah. I mean, normally you would think that the stock should go up, but Rocket Lab has been like the opposite. Like whenever there's good news, I mean, even this $500 million contract that we got, it was like up one day, and then 5 days later we were in the same.
Right.
So yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, there's nothing really going on at the recovery piece right now anyway, so they're just kind of bobbing up and down trying to get everything. So hope everyone had a good time watching us here for the launch of Four of a Kind. I'm very curious to see and wake up tomorrow with respect to seeing how the kick stage went. I'm sure that I'll be talking about that in the next 10 to 15 minutes or so. Vince and I will sign off here. Vince, more than happy to see and host this on your channel next time. Not 100% certain which launch it will be as of yet, but it'll be exciting nonetheless.
Awesome. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, everybody, if you
channel.
Is it really? Okay, I don't know. That's surprising. I try to bring people on more than maybe I should be better about that. But for those of you guys that haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Vince. His link is in the description. Please take the opportunity to go ahead and do that. And before I sign off, maybe I can just do a quick grab of it myself and post it in the chat for everyone to follow. Yeah, and I need to go take a nap for work. Let me know. Does that link work, Vince? I'm pretty sure that's your.
Yeah,
should
work.
Didn't work.
I think I should have a unique link. Like
yeah, I don't know why.
I think at Vince is bullish or something.
Yeah, I remember copying it over earlier. That's weird. Let me grab it again.
But I'm sure if the people want to follow, if they just type in Rocket Lab Vince is bullish or Rocket Lab Weekly, it will come up and they can find me that way.
Yeah, there we go. Here we go. I'll make sure to repost it in my. I don't know how it got corrupted.
So, someone said good night and have some Dutch Bros tomorrow.
Unfortunately, it's not on the way to work. It's kind of out of the way. But all right, my man. Thank you.
Celsius.
Yeah, I'll have Celsius. I ordered some, so hopefully tomorrow it'll be here. Cool. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you this Saturday for Rocket Lab Weekly.
Definitely.
Cool.
All right.
Thank you, brother. Cheers.
Ciao, ciao.